Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to all of you who have come from different corners of the world. Namaste, assalamu alaikum. Though it's belated, I'd like to congratulate India for celebrating its Republic Day recently. So we are going to have a short, I think, 1 or 2 minute video. Let me at this time introduce the chairperson and the moderator. One person who would perform dual role tonight, and she is no stranger to this forum, Ms. Bindu Devkinath Maharaj of Pinal in Trinidad and Tobago. She has been an educator for the past 25 years and is a published creative writer. So I and other members of our planning team would continue to stay in the background as directors of this program. Ms. Bindu, welcome, and please take it from here.
Good night. Thank you, Dr. Mahabir. So good night, good morning, and good evening. Namaste, Assalam alaikum to everyone here tonight, depending on the time zone in which you live, because there are always people here in this meeting from all over the world, of which we really appreciate. The COVID-19 pandemic is very rampant still, as we all know. Please remember to wash your hands regularly, sanitize your environment, and whenever in public places, maintain your social distance, wear your mask over your nose and mouth. So, ladies and gentlemen, we wish to lend support to Trinidad and Tobago citizens stranded abroad because, as we all know, the government has closed its borders since March 22nd, 2020, nearly a year ago. There are currently more than 7,000 people who are locked out of their homelands for more than 320 days and counting. Please contact us. So this goes for the viewing audience there or anybody who knows someone. Please contact us if you are one of those who are affected. We would like to dedicate one of our weekly Zoom programs entirely to this problem. Sunday, February 14, 2021, Valentine's Day. So let's show some love to the people who are stranded out there. Please send us your name and contact if you would like to speak publicly about your experience, because we do want your voices heard and represented. Now, this is a weekly forum hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center, which is legally registered. It's a research and publishing company since 2010. So it's a legit thing. And this forum is international in scope and content. It seeks to provide voice and visibility to a group that is an ethnic minority in the Caribbean, but nevertheless, it is still the largest ethnic minority in the English-speaking Caribbean. This meeting would end at 9 p.m. Trinidad time or 10 p.m. Suriname time or soon after. So it's generally about an hour and a half long. So as Dr. Kumar said, Dr. Mahabir said, I will be moderating as well. This is my 4th week and I'm very happy to be here. One reminder to all, please turn off your mics there's a little dot at the bottom or there's a little microphone icon, please turn it off because we do get feedback and the feedback takes away from the clarity of what is being said at the time. Our topic tonight is really an interesting one and it concerns football. So tonight we are dealing with Indians in West Indian national football. Now, what is football? Football around the world has other names. It's also called soccer, and it's a popular sport in Caribbean countries. But there is not a single Indo-Trinidadian in the national football team in Trinidad, and there has never been in living memory. In Guyana, like Trinidad, there's not a single Indo-Guyanese man on the national team. However, in the Guyana national women's football team, there are two Indo-Guyanese women football players, Brittany Passad and Kiana Kedu. Congratulations to them. Power to our women. We did try to make contact with them to get them to come on the show, but it was difficult. So we have to work past that. What I want to say about this is that here at ICC, we have an equal voice. You would notice that the people in the committee, there are women here, our speakers are women. So it's not a male-centric space, and I like that. So kudos to the Guyana football team. In Suriname, however, there's a difference, and we shall see it in a few minutes. Now, these guys have played on the national team in international games. Indians in India and the Indian diaspora love cricket. We all associate cricket with the Indian diaspora, with India. Why is that? It seems that though football is such a popular and liked sport, we don't have, as East Indians or Indo-Caribbean people, there's no space that yet within that platform of football. And why is this so? So tonight, our panelists, who are 5 of them, will be discussing that question. Why is there little or sometimes even no Indo-Caribbean representation in Caribbean football? Our first speaker tonight is Mr. Ramesh Ramdan. Now, Mr. Ramesh Ramdan is from Trinidad and Tobago. He is a football referee best known for supervising the Japan-Croatia match during the 1998 FIFA World Cup held in France. He has also officiated at numerous FIFA and CONCACAF competitions. Last year, Mr. Ramdan's net worth was estimated to be US $5 million. So Mr. Ramesh, welcome to our panel tonight. You have 10 minutes. Take it from there. Welcome.
So yes, thank you for having me on the program. And of course, the topic has been one that encouraged a lot of discussions throughout the country that is Trinidad and Tobago. The fact is that I believe it's like a socio-cultural issue, historical as well, geographical in Trinidad, in the sense of Trinidad and Tobago. And that, you hear me, right?
Yes, we are.
Yes, yes.
Right. So I believe the genesis of this whole issue that we're discussing today stems from way back, in that there were no role models to look up to amongst the Indian diaspora in our country, which relates relative to football. So you find them gravitating to cricket because there were a lot of role models to emulate in cricket. Football, I could say my own situation. My parents didn't want me to play football. I love football, and every time I got a chance, I used to pick up a ball and either encourage a small goal they will go to the beach and play beach soccer as we know it today, but we were playing football on the sand. But they always deterred me from getting involved in football because there was a stigma that footballers are strong and brutal, which was not really the case. It was just a myth that is just handed down in past generations, which I believe now it's not as bad as it used to be back then. But now we have another challenge with footballers, Indian footballers. You see a lot of them in our secondary schools set up, good footballers who have been before. I know several names like a guy called Anthony Danulal, Kitlal, Suklal. They all were good and the best in their time when they played at the colleges league. However, there's another problem in that Indo-Trinidad parents want their children to be academically sound. And therefore, when they leave school, they focus on their education. And therefore, football takes a lot of time because a lot of fitness is required, and you have to spend dedicated time and effort to becoming a good footballer. You have to be fit. You have to be working on your game and your fitness on a daily basis. And therefore, not much parents encourage their kids to go down that road. Cricket was easier because it didn't require that level of fitness as football does. And therefore, they just went academic. There are other distractions, if you want to call it that. A lot of them are musically inclined. There are a lot of good musicians in Trinidad, as you all know, Trinidad and Tobago, and they gravitate to other activities. So football suffered from that historical situation. In my view, back then, my case was different. I played cricket. I ventured into cricket, and I actually played at a decent level in Trinidad in the zonal situation. And then, of course, because I love football so much, I decided to get involved in the refereeing aspect, and the rest is history. But it is difficult to overcome that situation because it is now part of our culture, part of our socio-cultural mix, if you want to call it that. Historically, Indians do gravitate to playing football, although now I believe the game is much more brains than brawn, as was the case back then when we were told that you have to be strong and brutal to play football. So I believe the genesis of the whole problem stems back in the past, where we are a docile people. We were not aggressive. We were not viewed as being strong, and therefore it just wasn't an option. So that is the root cause of where we are today with respect to participation in the game by Indo-Trinidadians. Not that they cannot play, I must say, and not that the system keep them out. It's just the Indian diaspora in Trinidad and Tobago. It's their social background that they have held on to and has not moved on beyond that. Maybe time will see an emergence of much more Indian players gravitating to football.
Okay, Mr. Ramdan, I know you have some photos that you would like to share. Ravin, can you share those photos quickly, please?
Yes, this was the Confederation of Saudi Arabia in 1997, which was a prelude to my appointment in France. So I was one of the referees participating in the tournament in Saudi Arabia. Oh, this was a special moment in Saudi Arabia because I am a Brazil fan. Young. Brazil is one of the most flamboyant football team in the world. And I happened to be on that game, Brazil, Australia. And I couldn't miss the moment to get to the Brazil dressing room and have a photo shoot, although it was against protocols. And this was Bebeto, a famous Brazilian footballers, who I got a photo in their dressing room, actually. I say against all protocols of FIFA, but I couldn't miss the moment.
Okay.
This was the referees in France. I think this was a photo shoot from the Universal Studio in France and Disney World. And this all referees we went visiting one of days in our classes, and we took this photo there. So these are all the referees and administrators, coaches, and electors. It was one of the relaxing.
Okay. All right. Is that it, Ravin? Okay.
All right. So this one, this is in my memorabilia kit. Oh, this was all right. So this one was one of the greatest footballers in my mind that in the recent past. Ronaldo of Brazil, then Romario to my right there, and Leonardo, two great Brazilian footballers of their era. Ronaldo is one of the best footballers that the world has seen. So that is a prize photo of mine. This was also taken in the room. This was a shot made to the FIFA website and a book entitled Professional Refereeing. And I was featured as the person who had the best actions and antics on the field. So displayed in that article. A few of them. My mannerisms, what guys are the instructors. So this was also one of my prize photographs. That was in the game. This is a cool of photographs. One in France. The one in red is me walking out to the World Cup finals in 1996 in San Luis Coliseum. Again, the Caribbean, of course, for the Caribbean officials, the referee that tournament, and I reviewed it. And facing you is the great Frank who I met one of the games in the World Cup in the VIP lounge, and I couldn't miss the one in red is in San Luis Coliseum. Again, I reviewed it and facing you in the World VIP lounge. It's just a photograph with me when I started in 1992. I think that was.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Ramdan.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
Okay.
So this was me and my incarnation. Oh, okay.
Right.
As
Sorry
you know, I was
about that.
appointed secretary. Yeah. So that was a photo with me and the national head coach, Terry Fennick. I was of course appointed general secretary of the Sri Lanka Football Association in 2019. However, as you all might know, the FIFA came in with a normalization committee, and the administration was removed and replaced with a normalization committee, and therefore I am not functioning right now. So that situation is still being resolved at this time. So wait and see what transpires moving forward.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ramdan. Indeed, that was a brilliant portfolio I saw there with the pictures and tracking, from your youth to this point. And we really did enjoy the whole socio-cultural part, because I do agree with those things. And also that you don't get careers out of football. That's how it is seen by so many parents. So they don't push their children towards that. So thank you again, Mr. Ramdan. We do have questions for you. but that will come in the question and answer segment. Okay, so you don't leave, you stay right here, and let's move on to our second guest tonight.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
So our
Yeah, you are.
right. So our second presenter tonight is Mr. Ashok Bainatsa. Now, Mr. Bainatsa is from Suriname, and he's an administrator of the Surinamese Football Association, the SVB, since 1999, and a competition manager since 2013. Ashok is an expert in football statistics from the first and second division in Suriname. Mr. Ashok, welcome. You have 10 minutes. Stun us with all your information here tonight.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Good evening, everybody. I want to you introduce me and I want to tell about the Hindustani football players. Why didn't they come to the top of our football? In Suriname, we played football since before 1900. In 1924, the SVB started the first competition, and at that moment, Hindustani men playing football, but since after 1940, we get in Suriname the first Hindustani clubs. The first one was Kamal de Waker, and at that time, an Hindustani club had 90% only Hindustani football players. In 1971, the first Hindustani club made promotion to the highest division of Suriname, the Hoofdklasse, we call it. And they had one non-Hindustani player and the other one only Hindustani players. And the name of the club was Giant. After Giant, we get a lot of Suriname Hindustani clubs in the Hoofdklasse as an Amarjoti and Chantidel, later on Takbir Boys, Kamal de Waker. But after 1980, Suriname, live in Suriname was a little bit difficult. We had a military coup, let me call it so, and life was expensive in Suriname. People can't doing sports, everything was expensive, and a lot of people go to other countries, such as Netherlands. And the Hindustani clubs that we have at that time have to take other boys to play, as Maroons and Abru Suriname boys play. And later on, it come more bad with the Hindustani players, because a research that I do in Suriname was that a Hindustani player like football, they can play good football, but the Suriname players are amateurs, not professionals. We don't have yet a professional competition in Suriname. When the boys start playing football, 18, 19 years, they make a choice in their life. Going to play football in the top, of going to the high school of the university and go to study for a good job to look for your family. And that is, that's why Hindustani players don't reach the top in Suriname. Maybe after some years, if we have in Suriname a professional league, maybe it's gonna change. If I look to our youth competition in Suriname, we have in Suriname a youth competition uh, from under 9 till under 20, and there are a lot of Hindustani players, boys, but when they reach 16, 18 years, they make a choice to study, not playing top football. And often they didn't get permission of the parents. The parents say you can play football, but football don't give you money in Suriname. If I look to Suriname before 1980, when the clubs, the name that I called as Giant and Amarjoti and Tagdir Boys, four players reach the national team of Suriname. My friend he's here, Harun Takurdin, reached the national team of Suriname. But after they stopped playing football because they studied another player, Bisumbar, always reached the national team of Suriname. Today he is a doctor in Suriname. He go for study, good football player with study, and today he is a doctor. And so the Hindustani people in Suriname, you see them often in the management of a team. They are the owner of a team, and further in Suriname we have a lot of regional competitions, and there you have a lot of Hindustani boys who play football, but they don't have the ambition to go further as football player. They can play good football, but they don't want to be a top football. They told me, I can't train 3 times in a week because I have a job, I have wife, I have children. And if I look the situation now in Suriname at this moment, we don't play football last year. COVID don't let us play football. We have on first and on second division in Suriname. The first division, you have non-Hindustani clubs, and the second division, we have 2 Hindustani clubs. Each division has 14 clubs. The first had 14 clubs, the second had 14 clubs. And in the second division, you have 2 Hindustani clubs, and the 2 Hindustani clubs has only 1 Hindustani player. And totally, the first division of Suriname and the second division of Suriname, totally we have 9 Hindustani football players in both divisions. And what they asked me to take a look at Holland. In Holland, you have the Eredivisie and the first division. In the Eredivisie, you have 4 boys playing pro football with a Hindustani name. I call one name for you. One moment. Mr. Perai, he played for Pek Swallow. Mr. Piru, Joel Piru played for PSV in Netherlands. But the boys has the Hindustani name, but the boys don't look as a Hindustani because they are from, they are a mixed people. Because they have the name, but they don't like a Hindustani. If you look them and he called the name, you like, you are not a Hindustani, but he has the name. And one nice moment, what I will say, in 1971, Santos come here to Suriname with Pele. the greatest footballer. And Santos played uh, again Transvaal. Santos won with 4-1. But the man who played in that game on Pele was a Hindustani, Mr. Ronald Ramtahal Singh. He was a defender of Transvaal, and in that game, he played at Pele. Pele scored 1 goal in that game, a penalty. Okay, that was a thank you.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Bainatsa. So you really gave us some feedback as to what's happening in terms of the Indo presence in football in your country.
Yes,
And I'm seeing some similarities in terms of Trinidad, because
yes.
that's what we had our previous presenter about. So thank you again. We have some questions for you, so you hold on right there. And I'll direct them to you at the during the question and answer segment. Okay, wonderful having you on tonight.
Okay, thank you.
So our next presenter is also from Suriname, and his name is Harun Luna Takurdin. And he's a footballer in the National Junior Championship against Puerto Rico. Well, he was a footballer in the National Junior Championship against Puerto Rico in 1973, and a senior football player from 1973 to 1984. Mr. Takurdin has played in the Suriname national team and scored goals in competitions against many, many countries, including Mexico, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago. So welcome, Mr. Takurdin. Good to have you here tonight. Please be reminded, we have 10 minutes, so we look forward to hearing what you have to share with us tonight. Take it from here.
I have tell you something. He gonna help me about the English because he got assisted me. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. My name is everybody. Good night. My name is Takurdin Harun. My football name is Luna. We want to talk today about football over the Caribbean and Suriname. What's the problem? I am 62 years old, young. My business is I am a businessman. I am playing football like a street football. I start there of street football. I've been 14 years old, 1962 to 1985. Now we're playing recreation football to 1985 till now. What happened is the problem in Suriname is over Hindustani, the finance problem. We know the support from about the government is very bad.
Poor.
It's very poor. They don't have to finance. They don't finance the club and the SVB. The infrastructure, that's is very bad. The motivation by Hindustani is very bad too. But home, your mother, father, your wife, information, motivation is very bad about that. That's only Hindustani. When you make something like Hindustani and another guy like Afro people, the motivation is very high there. When they go play football, the ladies say, go win and come, we go have a party. And Hindustani say, no, you can't go, the wife. We have to a party with my mother and the drink. That's the problem in Hindustani. And amateur. Well, we are amateur football in Suriname. You gonna help me now? And you're gonna after I talk a little bit.
Go ahead, go ahead.
It's very good evening, everyone. I'm going to help Mr. Takurdin with the points he just told here. And we like to begin with the finance problem. As we know, we are in the COVID crisis now, but before that, Suriname was also in a financial crisis. Because of that financial crisis, Mr. Bainatsa, he can also agree with me, there is no governmental support for football in Suriname. And as our former speaker from Trinidad also told, the parents, the parents do not support their children, the Hindustani parents, to be part of the football, because the football is not seen as a profession where you can score, where you can make a career. They usually, the Hindustani parents support their children to become academically something like a doctor, a lawyer, something in business economic, something like that. They do not support. In Suriname, you don't have an academic school for football. So football, like my uncle said, is an amateur play. It is just on amateur level. You don't have a professional contract. You don't have professional league, like our colleague Mr. Bainatsa said also. There is no profession in football. Because of that, you don't have, like in the past years, the Hindustani people played it, but they didn't see any future in it. Because of that, they stopped playing. Like our friend Ashok said also, in the 1970s, you had a lot more Hindustani players. You had a lot more Hindustani teams who were playing football as a hobby. But because there was no future in it, there was no success, no professionalism, no motivation, they stopped. In Suriname, the third point, the infrastructure. The infrastructure of the Suriname Football Union, more known as the SUB, is handled by the funds which are got from the Caribbean Football Union and from the FIFA. There is no government support, absolutely 0.0 from the government to support the Football Union of Suriname. The government promised us this year that they can become something like a guarantee to stand on a credit line from India to support us for better infrastructure. But that's just a promise. So the union itself has to overcome to manage the infrastructure for football, which is very, I cannot say it's very bad, but it's poorly if we have to compare us. We have to do a comparison from the European football infrastructure, also the Trinidadian football structure. They have very better infrastructure. If I have to look at the Bahamas, St. Vincent Grenadines, they have better infrastructure regarding football. If I have to look at the Suriname football infrastructure. The fourth point was motivation. The motivation, the personal motivation from families. It is more likely said that, like we said, football is not seen as a profession. So the families do not support their children, more the Hindustani families do not support. They see that if their children go to play football, they see it more that they socialize with non-Hindustani persons and they can come in touch with bad people, with persons who use drugs abuse, who hang on streets, consume alcohol, all those things. Because, do you hear me? I see my
Yes,
screen went back.
we're
You
hearing.
hear me? Okay. Okay. So that's also a reason why most of the Hindustani parents do not send their children to play football, because it's also associated with criminality, with drug use, with hanging. Because when they go to play foot and alcohol abuse, because when they go play football in Suriname, you have three halves of football. You have the first and second, and the third half. The third half is played off field. At the store, they use alcohol, they consume cigarette, all those things they do. That's why most of the Hindustani children are not encouraged to go play football and to train of the football. So that was in short the problem why Suriname is very little represented in the Caribbean football, and why the Hindustani group of Hindustani people, the Indian people, are very less represented. Now, my uncle was in the 70s, one of the, like our friend Mr. Ashok Bainatsa said also, one of the top performance player of the Suriname football, and he had a lot of achievements. Maybe that's also a motivation for this generation to go to learn to play football and to motivate themselves and see themselves that they can be something. One of the, I would like to share some of his achievements, which he had during his football career, and that was he started as a child, as a 14-year-old player. He played as an amateur. He played as an amateur on the streets. Within a year, he was a team member of the Young India football team, like our friend also mentioned, one of the top Hindustani teams. And from there, he got in the junior football team of Takdir Boys. Was also one of the top performing Hindustani clubs in the 1970s. From there, he promoted himself with the team from the first division to the main division league that was called the SVB Hoofdklasse. And he was also one of the players who was qualified to be part of the national football team. And as our had said also, he played against a lot of countries. One of the countries where he thinks that he played against was Mexico and Puerto Rico, because on that time those countries were the top football countries in the region. He also wants to share something to you guys. He wants me to tell that he also played against football teams of Brazil, like Paisando and Clube de Remo. So that's also a part of the motivation we want to give our generation, for the Hindustani people of the 2020.
Okay.
That
Okay.
they can be something.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Takudin and nephew. So nephew, can you give me your name, please?
Yes, my name is Manku Praveen. I'm the current team doctor of the Football Union in Suriname.
Okay, excellent. So it's a passion that's shared within the family then.
One last thing I just want to add, that I don't know if the people here know the name Hugo Sanchez. Maybe Mr. Bainatsa knows this because he's shaking his head. He was a former player of FC Real Madrid, and my uncle was he played against him in a match during Mexico, and he managed to score a goal during that match. And till the day of today, the team managed to score a goal during that match, and he's so obliged. Till the day of today, he remembers it. So that was our motivation. We'd like to thank you guys for listening to us, and we have photos, a lot of them, but we don't know how to share it. We like to mail those. We already asked it, so we like to mail those to Mr.
So you
Kumar.
can email it to us, and then Ravin will put it together, possibly based on what directives are given, right? But thank you very much for both of your contributions. And I see that you all are kind of making a plea there for support in developing football in Suriname, and it really rests on government and support, it seems, to a large extent. Thank you very much, and let's move on. So we have some questions for you as well.
Yes.
Let's see, our fourth speaker is Mr. Fishad Paramester. He's a football player, goalkeeper, and referee with national football teams, and a licensed coach with a degree in that field. He has been active in football in Suriname and Holland in teams such as Straight Eagles, Sticks, Wayambo Stars, and Baraka since 1989 in the national youth team. And he has been the technical manager for the Swallow team since 2018. Mr. Pushad, thank you very much for being here. I'd like to welcome you on, please.
Yes. Can I start? Okay.
Yes,
Good
we're hearing
evening.
you. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, the topic is Indian footballers. So when I read about the topic, there are in the worldwide game of soccer or football, however you call it, two names that comes into mind. The first one, Vikas Duraso, who played for France in the national squad of France. And
Excuse me. Can you let me share the screen, please, Mr. Kumar or Bindu? Could you?
Ravin, you have to allow him to share screen, please. Prashad. Right, try there. Yeah, good.
Good, yes. Yes,
Just
the
click
first
on it.
one,
Right, nice.
we have Vikas Duraso, who was a member of the French national team and also played for teams like Paris Saint-Germain and the great AC Milan. Is obvious player of Indian origin, French-based. However, the most popular one, especially for us in Suriname, is Aaron Winter. Next picture, please. Aaron Winter, 84 caps for the Netherlands, is of Indian origin. His mother, Suriname diaspora of Indian origin, as we call them over here, Hindustanis. Aaron Winter played for Ajax, Lazio Roma, Inter Milan in Italy, and was once the best paid Dutch player back in his glory days. When we go to the Suriname team, a name that comes to mind for me is for sure goalkeeper Salik, the man with 1,000 fingers. Salik played also for the national team and his career for Jai Hind and Leo Victor. Can show the other pictures, I think. Yes, here is he in action, and we have now another action. Here he is with the president with the national team, the first president of Suriname, Johan Verrier. These were during the 1970s and late 70s, begin of 80. Apart from Mr. Salik, we have had some other Hindustani players in the national team, but he was, according to me, the greatest. As for clubs, we have had, I think, 3 or 4 great teams, of which the greatest, according to me, is Jai Hind. Most, I think, the best known, and the other ones, you have Tagdir Boys, Kamal Dewakar, and Amar Jyoti. The most successful by name is Perkas, who once went runners-up in the highest division of Suriname. But only management and name were Hindustani. I think in that squad, only the goalkeeper was a Hindustani, and that was Biswajit Kali, who is now the technical manager of the Suriname FA. Okay, being said that, you see, there are not many Hindustanis. Why? I think there are 2 reasons. One of them is the cultural aspect. Sports in general is considered for us to be a hobby. We like the sport. We do everything for the sport. That you can see a lot of managers in the sports with teams, team owners are Hindustani. I think the most money, the sponsoring comes from Hindustanis or Hindustani-based companies, on Hindustani-owned companies. An example, Mr. Luna is the chairman of National, who became champion in Suriname once. But in his team, I can't remember. Actually, I know for sure there was no Hindustani in his squad. But the whole staff, the whole board, the whole board of National used to be Hindustanis. So you can go on. We see the sport as a hobby because I think we go for the certainty, the certain future of a career with study. As you know, in sports, soccer, football, only 1% of the total amount can become prof. And out of that 1%, it is not even 10% that can make a living over their whole period of living from football. So I think, and that is mentioned by all the other speakers, that we choose for our social career, studying, etc. The second problem, not problem, the second thing, and I see that as a problem, is the youth coaches, the development of youth players. As the coaches in the youth system, instead of selecting players based on technical and tactics, they want to win games. Instead of develop young players to become great players, in the youth league, they select players to win games. And when you did that at young age, what is the most important thing if you want to win? You go to physical strength. You take in the big guy, the strong guy. And that almost rules out the Hindustani. So the Hindustani in the youth, although he plays, he doesn't get the attention and the chances he should have. So when they come to age 20, they are underdeveloped. This you can see if you compare the field soccer, field football with futsal. You can see that in the futsal league, the indoor soccer league, you have a lot more Hindustanis, as well as the physical part is not that important. And that is one of the, according to me, on technical reasons, tactical, also in the philosophy of the coach, which plays a major part in the development of Hindustani player. If the coaches choose in the youth system to go for technical and tactics, they take notice of the capabilities of their players, I think there would be a lot more Hindustanis in the higher regions of football in Suriname, but not only in Suriname, I think also in the Caribbean and also in Netherlands. Let not forget that Netherlands has, I think, almost 100 to 150,000 Hindustanis also there, and also there you don't see a breakthrough of Hindustani players. I think for now I have made my point clear. I think I stayed within the 10 minutes, and if there are any questions, then I shall hear them later on.
Thank you, Mr. Pamesa. That was excellent. I really, really appreciate that you kept the timing. That's lovely. For me, that's a really lovely feat there. But apart from that, I hear what you're saying in terms of when you look at it as a parent. Most of us here are parents. We want to know that whatever our kids get into, that they have stability. So the mindset, so if there's something with a 1% chance of becoming professional, how many of us are really willing to take that risk with our kids, right? So I do understand that as a parent, We do have questions for you, so we will take them as soon as the Q&A segment begins. Thank you again. Now, at this time, I would like to recognize our regulars to our ICC forum. They are Mr. Loknath Dubey, Jai Says, Muna Prasad, Dr. Alan Sami, Charles Debak, Dr. Tara Singh, Gabriel Pate, Ms. Shalima Mohammed, Ms. Kamla Tiwari, and Satsukdev Naipol. Thank you, you all are regulars, and because of that, we are telling you all are regulars, you know, so we like that. We want to encourage you all to continue being regulars. So we have to move on now to our final presenter, who is Mr. Kwarise Nagesa Singh Mohammed. And Mr. Mohammed is a sports journalist and a CEO and chief at QN Sport and Television. He was trained by BRT Television in Belgium and ATV in Suriname. He has attended and reported on World Cup football matches in Italy, in the US, in Germany, and South Africa, among many other countries in the world. Welcome, Mr. Mohammed. Nice to have you on tonight. We look forward to hearing what you have to share with us.
Let me put it short. I'm a senior sport journalist for 35 years. And if I look at my track record, as you mentioned it, I cover 5 World Cups, 6 Championship finals, 3 Olympic Games, and cover also when Aaron Winter got his first big prize on the Euro Championship in 1988 when Holland beat Russia in the final in Germany. Aaron is a personal friend of mine. So I met a lot of things, and I had the opportunity in 1994 by World Cup in the USA when we were in the same hotel where the Dutch team were over there, and I made some interviews with him before the game of Brazil against Holland, where Aaron Winter scored the equalizer 2-2, and after that Brazil beat them in Dallas in the quarterfinals 3-2. So if I have 4 speakers before me, then the only thing is, Ilvan, what I can say from my opinion. I'm very critical. The Federation know that, but let me put things clear. If I look at the performance of our Hindustani football player from the beginning, I think that in the 60s and the 70s and the beginning of 80s, that generation plays with passion and love of the game. They play maybe for an orange or maybe for a milk, but not for the money. The way they came from outside and they came into an area, because normally in Suriname by football, we don't have tradition that Hindustani players can be once a time the best. In the time that Jai Hind made the move to the first division, and then later on with Takdir Boys and Kamal Dewakar, then we had a generation where I was thinking at that moment, because I saw Luna playing football, he was a good striker. He hits my favorite team, Transvaal, twice, and he was one of the dangerous attacking players together with Ramgulam from Takdir Boys. And at that time, that generation, there was one stop. There was no other opportunity outside Suriname. There was no structure. We don't have opportunities, and nobody knows that there was more than football besides Suriname. When they moved for the national team in the Caribbean, we compete a couple of times with Trinidad. Suriname became one of the most dangerous countries in the Caribbean. I know the words of Mr. Sepp Blatter and Jack Warner when I visited Trinidad and the Caribbean a couple of times. But individual, I think that the mentality of the generation after the generation of Takdir Boys in his prime and Kamal Dewak and Jai Hind, I think that everything changed in Suriname. Right now, if you don't buy a car, they don't want to start practice. Normally, when you score goals, you're a hero. Nobody knows them because the Football Federation, we have it, we're not professionals. It is a dream to become a professional federation, but you have to structure all the clubs, for example, because playing licensed football is nice, but going to the big competition is a different ball game. I don't think right now we have the right people to educate our Hindustani young promising players, because a couple of speakers mentioned that after 80 years or 90 years, then they are interested in other things. From a culture aspect, they know that they have to marry a young girl, maybe from the same street, it doesn't matter, but they don't have opportunities in football. And I don't have not only the Hindustani players, but normally, if I look at my own job, I think that in the beginning 70s, there was one part-time sport journalist. His name was Mr. Nur Muhammad. And after that, it take a while of many years until my old brother stepped into the radio sport journalism, begin 80s, and I make my career in 1982.
Mr. Mohammed, I need to ask you a question. I know you have pictures. I don't want you to forget them. So
we
you
can
have
share the
pictures to
pictures.
share. So just give us the cue. Can I ask Ravin to start sharing them for you?
Of course, no problem.
Okay, lovely. Go ahead, Ravin.
This is the greatest athlete of the century, Anthony Nesty. In 1998, he became the first gold medal in the history of the entire country with an excellent Olympic record of 53 seconds. So this was the greatest hero, Anthony Nesty, and I met him in 2 Olympic Games after that when I covered the bronze medal in Barcelona in 1992. And this picture was made in Beijing in 2008 when he was the head coach, from assistant head coach of the US swimming team. This is Mr. Vicente de Bosque, a former excellent player of Real Madrid and a coach of Real Madrid, and also the coach of Spain. And by the draw in 2008, I was a professional accredited sport journalist, and we had a chat with Vicente de Bosque, a great guy, very silent. This is the picture I love the most, because my first meeting with the greatest player on earth, Pele, I met him before the game in Dallas. And the most thing that I can remember when I introduced myself, and I told him I'm Quraish Nagizing from Suriname, and his answer was, that is the country of Transvaal and Venus-Gal. And when Pele visited Suriname in 1971, when Ashok mentioned that, and Santos beat Transvaal at that time 4-1. And I had the opportunity to meet him twice, Pele, make the interview exclusive. I think this picture gone away for many years. This is Fabio Capello, a former player of AC Milan, and we had a chat in Munich by the Champions League finals in 2011 when Chelsea beat Bayern Munich at home after a penalty shootout. That is a wonderful picture when it was 2014.
I agree.
By 2014, and I went over there with 5 production people to make my own World Cup prediction from the beach in Fortaleza, and making profiles and previews from every World Cup games. And our spot was in Fortaleza. Later on, we moved to Belo Horizonte, Sao Paulo, and we ended the final in Rio when Germany beat Argentina in that wonderful final. This is the current head coach of Brazil, Tite. And by the Olympic Games in 2016, when I did the coverage at the final, this guy speaks English very well, and it's always okay with every sport journalist. It's always be nice to talk with the Brazilian coach, because I think that football is more than a religion for Brazilian people. This is Lionel Messi, very young. In 2009, I went to Brazil because I covered in Spain, correct me. And from 2001 until 2012, I covered every year both El Clásicos. And we met him by practice and we had a little chat and interview. And he's very shy still, but he's one of the greatest players on earth. And maybe he's lucky next year to get the World Cup. I don't hope so because I support Brazil and not Argentina. This is Mr. Bach, the president of the International Olympic Committee. And 2 years ago, we went for the first sports award in Lausanne, in Zurich, when we met him and had a chat about the Olympic Games in Tokyo, because this year we have to do the coverage because of the pandemic. I hope that Tokyo can make the call, but this guy know exactly, and he was in his prime, a gold medalist of Germany during his time by the Olympic Games. This guy in the middle with a Lifetime Achievement Award is the pillar from Suriname. His name is Edwin Schal, and we call him by the best player of the century in 2000. And he is a sport commentator since 1998 in my company. He retired right now, and we had a special dinner with him with all the other guys, our sport pronouncer and sport journalists from my company, together with the board of directors, and we give him the place that Venus Khal was. He was the most dangerous attacking player from Suriname in the Caribbean and also in the CONCACAF. And he was the first one because Transvaal is the only club who got the CONCACAF title 3 times. So that were the pictures. And to go further by the aspect of the Hindustani player, there are a couple also in Netherlands. Right now we have Narsing. Also we have Biseswar. Also, so what I think, I spoke with both of them a couple of years, and they at the beginning it can be promising, but they're not on the highest level. And you know, to be one of a good player for the Netherlands, you have to be more than a local average player. That's why it was quite difficult that Aaron Winter, whose mother born in Suriname, you know, and to perform at that time together with Rijkaard and Gullit and all the generation of Suriname, I think that Aaron Winter is the best one. And I don't know, I hope so, but I don't think that players like Narsing and Biswisser and give all the other names gonna make it on the highest level, because they're good, but they're not good enough to be an international for the Netherlands. And from Suriname, once again, I have a lot of questions also for other people, other folks, or the former one, because I don't think at this time, with all my respect, the mentality of the average Hindustani soccer player, we don't have that kind of players anymore in Suriname to become a professional player, even if they are young and talent. And I brought them outside for trials. No, you have to be go from an early age to Europe. But my problem is everybody wants to go to the Netherlands. And that's the big mistake that we make in Suriname. Because going to a platform in the Netherlands, you have to go to Ajax, PSV, Feyenoord. No, go to the Caribbean and make a step to North America, because USA, Canada, Mexico are on the highest level together with Costa Rica. That's the big mistake that we make. But I hope that sometimes, maybe the coming 10 years, we have a couple of new great talent Hindustani players, but we have to do a lot of research work. And I think that the federation have to be great things, because we are not professional in our country. That's why we're going to be the same at 50 years ago. Thank you so much for this time.
Okay, thank you very, very much, sir. I really enjoyed that because you gave us a slight shift in comments compared to the other ones, the other presenters, where we got information about the socio-cultural aspect, the infrastructure and government support and policies and so on. But what you said, and it's a good point, is that there is not quality coaching and quality players being created that could take them to the next level. So definitely for that to happen, things have to be put in place to allow for quality professionals to come out from the into that field. So that's really excellent. We thank you for your contributions tonight. Please hold on, because we do have a question and answer segment. At this time, folks, I will open the floor for questions and answers. Please be reminded, though, that we have a few minutes. We want to accommodate as much questions as possible. So please make your questions very succinct and brief, and so that our presenters can start answering them. Who wants to go first?
A sport journalist don't want to wait. If I had the opportunity to go like first with permission of the other guys, my first question to Ramesh is, at the time when he was a professional and he was performing, did he have the feeling that from his background, a skill from a Hindustani professional referee, racism at this time is horrible? How was it at that time? Did he had a feeling that he was somebody of they put him around in the corner? I'm very interested in that.
We have a question for Mr. Ramdan. One of our audience members wants to know what are some of the major challenges there are to overcome as a referee, as an indoor referee in this space of football.
I encountered many challenges. When I was accelerating my career, I was at the head of the class, so to speak. And then they had a lot of reasons for not putting me on the international panel. One which was widely used was I was too young. I had a lot of time. And you know, the old school mentality that there were other people there who have been knocking on the door and never made it, and therefore I was kept back for 10 years. When I was going to be appointed, there was a referendum to prevent my appointment, saying that I did not meet the full requirements. And it took an intervention from Mr. Jack Warner, showing them that the direction that refereeing was going, and therefore in a few short years, I would be the only one who would qualify to be on the FIFA list based on my age. So age could not have been a reason. And the entire association of the referees at that time was up in arms against my appointment. However, I prevailed, and the rest is history. But along the way, in Trinidad, there were challenges. However, outside, the only challenge was to be better than everybody else, or to be as good as everybody else. There were we were one closely knit family. The biggest hurdle was in Trinidad and Tobago. But once I ventured outside and became an international referee, then all that was put behind. And the same people who wanted me out or didn't want me in, they became my best friends, and they all looked up to me then, because I was out there flying the flag. So outside of Trinidad, no issues.
Outside Trinidad, at home there is.
Yeah, there were issues in Trinidad, I have to say.
Okay.
Which I have not yet spoken about.
Okay, we'll leave that for another platform, another forum. One thing I do have to ask you, how did your parents take it when you decided to go into football that they did not want you to go into? You said in the beginning your parents had some issues with it.
Right. They encouraged me to play cricket and other sports, but not football. That was the biggest challenge. It was not, they were happy when I ventured into that aspect of football and started to travel the world. They welcomed it and they appreciated it, and they were very proud of my achievements as a referee. So the issue then was and my early days, my childhood days, they did not want me to play with the bigger, stronger guys. That was their issue at that time.
Okay. All right. Lovely. Thank you very much. Okay. Yes. Thanks. Now, we also have a very lovely comment made by Dr. Roseanne Kanhai. What she said in the chat is this: I grew up in a village in Trinidad, and cricket teams were an important presence in the community, as was inter-village matches. I grew up with that as well. And I'm wondering if football was more urban rather than rural, owing to the fact that we are more, well, rural in terms of where I came from. Can any one of the presenters talk about that? Do you think that within our communities, we need to promote football just as cricket was promoted on a communal level to make it more attractive and appealing to not just the young folks, but the parents looking at them, and more in a more structured way, not just like going down in the field to kick some ball, boy, not like that, right? Is there anybody who's willing to make a comment on Professor Kanhai's question? Well, statement. Okay, Mr. Ramdan, go ahead.
Yeah, I will venture to respond because I would say it was urban centric, and for more than one reason. Rural communities didn't have facilities to play football. I don't know of any football field in rural communities back then that were up to the standard, the measurement, the right measurement. They were all cricket grounds, which were adapted to play minor leagues. So the fact is that you had the Queen's Park Savannah where most football were played back then, lots of fields with the requisite sizes and so on. So it was based in Port of Spain, and then San Fernando with Skinner Park and so on, and probably Point Fortin. But the rest of the country did not have the facilities to encourage the playing of organized football, I would say.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm seeing two very, very pertinent questions, and one is from S.A. Mohammed. What Ms. Mohammed is asking is about the Javanese population in Suriname. She wants to know if there is a greater showing of Javanese compared to non-Javanese players in the football team in terms of male, female, and so on, compared to the Hindustani footballers. Can any one of our Surinamese panelists answer that, please?
Yes, the Japanese in percentage, they are less than Hindustani, but also in the sport, it is the same as the Hindustani, you can say. Although you have had Hindustani teams, as we call them, Jai Hind, Kadi, Kamal Dewakar, Takdir Boys, etc. in the high regions, we have never had that with Japanese teams. Now we have some teams like Bentang Liar in the highest division with, I think, 3 or 4 Japanese players. And the latest Japanese player that made our national team was Fancellino Sastromejo. According to me, one of the greatest talents we had in this century in our sport. And in futsal, we had Linko, who once became champion after losing 4 finals in a row. Okay, but they have, let's say, the same issues as the Hindustani.
Okay, thank you for taking the question. I really appreciate it. We have some pictures that Mr. Luna wanted to show, and we kind of skipped that. Can you show it? Mr. Luna, are you there to talk them through quickly?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, you have 1 minute, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Yes, here we see a picture of Mr. Luna. And let us start by the pictures. Here we see him at his team, Takdir Boys. He is here in the middle. The arrow is pointed at him in his younger years. He was there 20 years old, or fresh player. This picture was taken with Mr. Luna also. when Takdir Boy was selected for the main division. He was also with the president of the FIFA, the current president, Mr. Gianni Infantino, and he also watched several World Championship plays from Germany to Russia. And here we see him again, Mr. Luna, with the current president of the CEO of the Suriname Football Union and the vice president. And in the middle, ex-president of the American Football Federation. That was it.
Okay, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
So we have a nice comment here made by Ms. Kamala Tuwari. It's on the chat. She said that their son at age 11 was told by a swim coach, "You thinking about swimming, boy? You'll never be given a chance. You think about swimming, boy. You'll never be given a chance in football." And Ms. Tuwari is, oh, well, of course, Indo-Caribbean. So she's sharing her experience with us on a personal level as to discouragement rather than encouragement towards venturing into the sport. All right, so at this time,
I would just want to say good evening. Can I accommodate me 1 minute?
Can you identify yourself, please?
Yeah, this is journalist, commentator Rich Parasnath.
Okay, good night, welcome.
I just want to say I'm happy to join the discussion. This is an invitation by Mr. Ramesh Ramdan, whom I know very well. And I had a chance to promote him and the football in Trinidad and Tobago. And most of the sentiments shared this evening, I share them as well with all the presenters from Suriname, especially. I had a chance to play in Suriname in 1976. We took a college team there. I was a goalkeeper, but I had to play the badminton to play against Rocas, the Caribbean champion, at the same time. So we lost the football to you, sir. But that was a good exchange program. I thought at the school level, that's where we start the football. I encourage them to play at the school level. And that's not happening in the schools in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago, in Guyana. The point was made that, Guyanese who had played at that level, there's Ivan Passad who played for Guyana not too far ago. There are many others who have played, but that's not been highlighted here this evening. And even the structure there does not accommodate the players because it's urban-centric. And I'm saying what is happening here is because of the promotion of the football talent. They are from the countryside. The media has a great role to play. And I'm saying that because I play that major role to transform football in Trinidad and Tobago. Those who know that, right? Based in San Fernando, that's how San Fernando Tech, Trintok, Naparima College, Lachan Prasad, the best football defender that I have seen in the last 38 years in this country, and the captain of Naparima College that beat San Fernando Tech in 1986. When they had Russell Latapi, Leon St. Louis and company. They had played unbeaten in 1985, 35 matches. And in the finals of the South Zone, Lachan Prasad was the captain. The goalkeeper was Khan. And the guy who scored the goal was David Mohammed, a cricketer that played for Trinidad and Tobago. He scored the goal that defeated the San Fernando Tech, this mighty giant that nobody could have played and have beaten. So there's great talent there, but these guys went on scholarships. Lachan Prasad worked with a bank. He went on to advance himself educationally. And most of these guys see the sports at that level to get the scholarships to go to America universities and university colleges. And that's how it is in Trinidad and Tobago. The scholarship guys, they're looking to get there. So the one highlighted in the media, once they highlighted there, they can use that clipping and send it up to the American colleges and universities. They get accepted and they get a chance to advance themselves educationally. In terms of national selection, I don't think that many of the parents will send the children to play because of the time that these matches are scheduled. It interferes with their studies and their lessons. So that's, you have a problem there in terms of where you accommodate the talent and who are managing that talent as well, right? And I can say that many young talent cannot make it. They don't have the boots to play. Right? Because where they come from, they're very poor, their parents, but they're very talented. I don't want to call name, but I had opportunities to work with those guys and even to talk on their behalf. and they were sent off the national teams, but they had it so good they had to bring them back. And the national team, the Trinidad and Tobago, won Caribbean titles. And this is where the problem lies because of the financial arrangements for these competitions and to get these talents to go on to the next level. So I want to say that that should be a major consideration in terms of how you advance the talent, how you promote the talent, and how you motivate the talent. All those terms were used here this evening, and I share those sentiments with most of these coaches and players in Suriname. I salute all these guys who've done great service to sports and to national development, because to me, sports is national development, and that's my calling as a journalist, as a commentator, and a promoter, and an editor. In many capacities, and I see my good friend is on this chat as well, Dr. Alan Sami from the Cricket Board. He's been doing great service as well at all levels. And as I say, and my friend, my brother from Suriname, Risi Mohammed, congratulations, brother. You've gone a very far way. You've traveled the globe. You have covered so many sports. And that's where the media comes in. You have to recognize the talent. You have to promote the talent and let the coaches and the administrators know these are the guys who will bring honor to the country. I have been doing that through the media, the newspapers, through my radio programs and my magazines. We identify the talent and we push those talents. And I'm sure that they are all happy, and we are happy because, as we say, sports is, to me, the greatest source of national enjoyment and national unity. All the races come together, and all people from all levels come together. Sports transcends every single thing that you can think about on this planet.
Okay.
So I would say sports is God gift to humanity for us to work and to enjoy and to live and to advance ourselves. So I would just want to make that contribution.
Thank you very much, Sue. Before we wrap up, I see that Mr. Dion Bruning has something that he would have liked to ask. Mr. Bruning, are you still wanting to ask that question, or has it been discussed by now?
No, it hasn't been discussed. Thank you for your opportunity to get my question in.
Okay.
Very informative. I like it. But maybe somebody wants to shed his light about the global issue of this event. I've heard a lot of people talk about there's no government support, etc., etc. But India, the country with the most Indian people, the largest population on the earth, they had a budget of about 500, 600 million US dollars last year. Of course, exact figures are pretty hard to find, but they haven't qualified for a World Cup yet. So I know it's an issue, as you guys mentioned, in the Caribbean, but worldwide, the Indian national football team hasn't qualified for any World Cup. They have qualified in 1950, but that's a funny story. But maybe somebody wants to shine his light upon why India, as one of the biggest countries on earth, has still not qualified, and the government has been backing them. 500 million US dollar is not a small budget, and the countries have qualified. Iceland has qualified, Trinidad, Kuwait has qualified, Indonesia has qualified for a World Cup. What is the reason why India hasn't? And it's not because they are not focusing, because $500 million is a lot of money.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brunings. So what we're seeing is that it's a global issue in terms of just the Indian diaspora getting within competitively and professionally and standing in the football world. So thank you again, everyone. I really had a lovely time sharing and moderating tonight. To be honest, I'm not wanting to look at football in a really different way. So you have given me a new perspective, our 5 panelists, and the comments that were made. You have enlightened so many. So in closing, I would just like to thank everyone for taking the time to participate. and especially to our lovely presenters. Thanks to the advisory and planning team led by Dr. Kumar Mahabir. This is a team effort directed by people of the Indian diaspora. Dr. Tara Singh from New York, Brian Rampal from California, Case Raj from Florida, Cliff Rajkumar from Canada, Jai Sayers from Grenada, Ravi Dev from Guyana, Satsak Dev from Trinidad, Leon Bunings and Dew Sharman from Suriname, and many, many others. Let us not also forget our IT technician, Ravan Ram Singh. He has been the one behind all of this recording, putting everything together. He will edit and then post it on the ICC website or on Facebook. So do look for it over there. So all are welcome. Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center, feel free to contact ICC to publish your books, magazines, and reports. Our regular 7:30 Trinidad time, 8:30 Suriname time, where we will continue our wonderful discussion of a variety of current topics. And do feel free to suggest a topic to hear your voice, because your voice is a rapper. Another reminder, reaching out to the people, the 7,000 plus Trinidadians who have been locked out of Trinidad. Please contact us if you want to be part of that discussion, to share your experiences being basically cut off from your homes. We want to get those experiences, and we want to let the country know from your point of view. So send us your email and WhatsApp. Sorry about that. Now, our tentative topic next Saturday is part 2 of how to find your ancestral family in India. Now, I know that was an outstanding session we had, where we were filled to capacity. We had no room to allow more participants in. So for those people, please look forward to it. Come join us next week, where we will get that going, and you all can benefit as well. Also, please remember, if you don't get a personal invitation, go on the Facebook site of the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center, and you would see it being streamed live. And please like and share, of course. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It was really lovely having you all here tonight. But before we close, I want to end with this. We really appreciate all the pictures shared by our presenters tonight. We have seen you all noteworthy Indo players as well as famous international players, but no conversation about football is complete without mentioning the great Maradona. His death is a tremendous loss to the beautiful game. We can only hope that at some point in time, there can be a player of Indian heritage who may be as great as Maradona himself. Thank you all very much. And with that, we all can say good night, and I bring you all to a close. Good night, everyone. Thank you for being here.